My nephews Alan and Andre were interested in discovering what peak bagging was all about. We selected Mount Tremont, which rises 3,371 feet, as our destination because it is on the New Hampshire 3,000 footers list. The trail starts out easily. The first third of the trail travels along Stony Brook, which has endless beautiful waterfall cascades and clear pools and a stream running over sheets of granite. Towards the last third of the climb, it is very difficult in that the trail is very rocky, uneven, and strewn with exposed tree roots. Possibly for this reason, Mount Tremont is one of the lesser popular trails. The summit has some open ledges and great views. The area surrounding it looks unexpectedly vast and wilderness-like. It is a great hike if you enjoy beautiful New Hampshire waterfalls and incredible views and do not mind a challenging trail. We enjoyed a leisurely stop this Saturday morning. We stopped at the McDonald's restaurant in Lincoln, New Hampshire for breakfast. My 10-year-old nephew Andre shouted eagerly into the micro cassette recorder, holding it several inches away from his mouth, when the three of us arrived at the Mount Tremont trailhead. We found the trailhead easily using the AMC guidebook directions. We parked behind a long line of several other cars on the shoulder of the highway. The modest trailhead sign was on the other side of the street. The old carriage trail was wide, smooth, and near level, covered by a layer of soft spruce needles dried to a light brown color, as it paralleled a rock-lined stream on the left. The easy walking was rather encouraging. A sign-in logbook was sheltered in a dark brown wooden box which acted as a writing desk. We added our names along with many others on that day. Next, we marched forward together. A half hour later, we took our first short break, since it was admittedly rather warm. We tapped our apple cider supply and generous homemade cookies and dried fruit provisions that my sister had packed up for us. The trail is pitched up to rise up to a ridge, and the stream was now perhaps 150 feet below us, just out of sight, but constantly within earshot. Andre recorded, "I can't wait to get to the top." After a few minutes, Andre recorded, "We are going to start up in a little while." My response to that was immediate. "A little while? No, let's go." I was pleased that we moved forward all together at a constant, respectable pace. Much later, the trail leveled off and actually dropped down noticeably. The crossing of Stony Brook is a clear landmark. We still had a long way to go. However, at a minute before 1, we reached not the summit as we had hoped, but a base of a steep section of switchbacks. These are dramatically shown on the trail maps. These act as a staircase to the rocky summit lookout platform. This meant that we still had quite a bit of steep terrain to climb. We decided to spend a minute and perhaps a few more for a second break. Andre and I compared this hike with our recollections of our winter bushwhack up the side of Big Coolidge. He said, "It's so steep and tiring, just like the other hike." "Oh, today," he said, "it's too hot, but on our previous hike, my feet were frozen." He admitted that this hike was better. Alan's hourly beeper watch sounded, and I jumped up to my feet and said, "Now we're late, so let's run. Right, guys? Let's run! Let's run! Go, go, go!" Andre smiled and whispered into the recorder, "I'm not going to do it." Andre led the way all the way to the summit. He was pushing us hard, pulling ahead of us about halfway up. Alan maintained a saner pace, dropping behind a few feet, and I stayed in between to glue the hiking party together. We proceeded one long, steep switchback section at a time. We didn't have enough energy to count them. I didn't really want to know how many more there were. The voices of a few other hikers coming from above indicated that the summit was immediately ahead and the switchbacks were soon over. We ignored several hints of a view. When we reached the summit, we sat at the top of a smooth granite dome, which was ringed by 5 to 10 foot tall spruce trees. I really hadn't expected such a striking and somewhat unique view of so many white mountain peaks. Also, I was surprised to see 2 small mountain ponds, one much larger than the other, that felt like a stone's throw away below us. We could barely see the roof of a shelter on the shore and a rowboat dotting the calm surface of the water. Alan and I sat down to recharge our batteries as Andre proceeded to explore the area. The trail sign faced us, and we took a photograph. We found a USGS benchmark survey marker, 3384 feet, similar to many which are common on the White Mountain summits. It was dated 1943. We left the summit fully refreshed after goofing around for a while. We had regained all of our strength. We were happy and planned to trot down the hill in good time. Andre shouted to Alan and me, "Let's go, man!" Andre called the switchbacks zigzags. Every time that we stopped for a break, Andre would sit down on the ground and fight to pull off one of his high-top sneakers. Then he would slowly invert it to pour out several heaping tablespoons of trail debris. We all laughed. Andre bruised his shin somehow, sliding down a particularly steep spot. He frowned deeply for a few seconds. Then he shook it off, saying, "It hurts, but I can stand it." He next proceeded to carefully wrap his red bandana around his leg a few inches below the knee, covering the bruise. That bandana kept falling down around his ankle every dozen or so steps, and he'd patiently pull it back up again and again. I think that he may eventually recover from his wounds. As the trail eased, we skipped forward and sang the song "Follow the Yellow Brick Road" from the classic movie The Wizard of Oz. When we reached the trailhead, we headed a couple hundred yards down the road. However, Alan and Andre had gotten ahead of me and had proceeded down the rocky stream bed towards the Saco River, only 50 yards away. Over a dozen other cars were parked there. Many people were enjoying the rushing water. The current looked really powerful near the far side, but on this side, a small sandy area and a gravel pool was unusually inviting. A little boy, actually little more than a toddler, stood there in the water with his mother's outstretched arms on him. I fell to the temptation, stripped off my boots and socks, and slowly walked into the cold, clear water until my ankles were covered. It felt good. The water's cold enough to suck a significant amount of excess heat from my entire body. However, not much more than a minute or two after feeling this relief from the summer heat, my feet stung with pain from the cold, and I couldn't bear it any longer. Andre was prancing around. I was careful not to let him go near the most dangerous spots. We enjoyed that area. Andre didn't hurt himself, not even once.